This is Live from Nowhere, a broadcast to benefit touring crew members who are currently out of work, and I'm Frank Sgambellone. In 1991, one of the biggest rock groups that's ever come out of the United States embarks on a 7-leg, 99-show tour that took them across North America, Hawaii, and Mexico. The musicians, Eddie, Alex, Mike, and Sam. The band, Van Halen. The tour, for Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, or it's commonly known as the F.U.C. Tour. Today, I've got 8 members of that crew, legend, and the elite of the touring industry. Guys, welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us. Good to be here.
I would like to tell us a little bit about yourselves and what your role on the tour was. Scottie, you want to start us off with that?
Yeah, my name's Scottie Ross, and I was tour manager for 1990 to 2002, working for the best band in the nation or in the world at that time. It was a huge tour, which God carried me through the rest of my life with just, the knowledge that I learned, and working with Ed Leffler, who was a man among men, and working with the band, who were like not unapproachable. I mean, they were wonderful guys. You could talk to them as human beings and make sense to them sometimes. Whereas a lot of musicians and stuff are not that way.
Mario, how about yourself?
I was involved with Van Halen since '84. It was the last big tour. Been involved ever since then. I was the audio system engineer and crew chief, and making sure that, the shit made noise.
Excellent. David, how about yourself?
I was the lighting designer and production designer along with Ian Knight, and of course with Jerry's help. And I was with them from about 1985 or 6 through till about 92, and that's what I did. Ran the show, during the show, and designed it beforehand.
John O.
I was front of house engineer on the tour, and I had met Ed in Toto rehearsals the year prior, and a year later he gave me a call. I think there was some change in front of house for some reason with the previous engineers. So he gave me a call. I was only 26 years old at the time, and I only had one real tour under my belt. So I gave him a false impression that I was definitely up to the task. But thanks to these guys, they pulled me through the gig. So
You did fine.
Jim.
I started in 1991 on this tour. My good friend Scottie down there brought me along. I still send him a birthday cake every year. No, I don't do that at all, but I should. But yeah, he brought me in from our previous tour. That was the first of 4 tours for me with Van Halen at Monitors.
Patrick.
Yeah, I think I came off of Bowie or the Dead or something, and I think I came in with Frankie Stetler, who's the production manager. But I came on as the head carpenter, and that didn't last too long, and then I took over as stage manager pretty quick, and I was with him for 5 years, I think. Yeah, about 5 years. But this was my first tour with them, with Van Halen.
Excellent. Jerry.
Hi, Jerry here. Look, I was working for a company called Morpheus Lights out of San Jose, and David designed this massive system that we put together, and I was fortunate enough to get earmarked to go out and program for him, and that's how I started. I just come off a tour with Cher, and it was a great experience, a great group of people, and this was the first of 2 tours. We did the Balance Tour, and Jim and I were on that as well. So good experience.
Excellent. And Rob.
Yeah, I was Alex's drum tech at that time, and actually Dave Dave and Chris Parlin hired me on in '86 on the 5150 tour, and I stayed with him till last tour I did with him was 2004, reunion tour with Sam, and so it was a long longevity for sure. It was great. It's been great.
It sounds like it must have been a lot more fun than it was hard work. Nobody here seems to look back at it as like it was, oh God, it was the worst. And, everybody seems to have fond memories of it. Is that the case for you guys?
I mean, it was definitely hard work. I mean, it was like you said, it's a big tour, but we didn't really care about that. And I think, I don't want to speak for everyone else, but it was work hard, play hard in that order. And, and we knocked it out, and it really was a really great crew, and that comes from the top. And I think everyone got along on that tour. I can't remember, unless I'm filtering stuff. We were just a bunch of mates out there just having a good time and working our asses off. I mean, we were doing 5 shows a week. Was it 3 on, 2 day off, 2 on, or something? I mean,
Something of that nature.
It was real touring,
Yeah.
And in 10 months of working hard, how much play was there?
How much play?
Fit it in when you could.
You fit it in when you could.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you worked hard, and then at times you played hard. Kind of. That's the way it was back then, before all the lawyers and accountants and
Boy, is that the truth.
involved. Kind of deal.
I think we were able to make our day-to-day grueling labor fun in itself. I mean, just on the job, to me, was fun. I mean, some of the things, the people I met, the things that were said, and some of the shenanigans just while we're working, that was fun. So, it balanced out. It was pretty cool.
What we need to do is we need to remember Mr. Ed Loeffler.
Oh, yes.
Yep.
He had brass bones,
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
he
it
knew
up there.
and
Nice.
he respected your opinion. I remember one day we were at some fair or whatever, and I said, the power's all fucked up and whatever. He says, fine. If we can't have a show and you don't feel comfortable, we're not going to have a show. And he called it off, kind of deal. And I respected that.
That happened in Jacksonville as well with the truss.
And the grid broke. Yeah.
Yep, when it flipped on the beam.
He'd cut a deal for T-shirts and say, hey, this, that, and the other, and they wouldn't agree with it. He said, well, fuck it then. I ain't selling you fucking T-shirts.
I remember that, Mary. He came up
put
to
all
me
the
one day.
displays. We would put all the displays flat, and if they said okay, we'd raise them up. If they didn't, we just left them like that and packed them back in the truck.
Yeah, bless his soul. The guy, he was fucking tough as nails.
Yeah,
I remember him one time, he said, Patrick, you make sure every fucking T-shirt's out of this building. I said, done.
Yeah.
I've got another Ed story real quick. I used to work for Metallica as well. I used to flip-flop between the two, and the tours would overlap by about a week. So I'd probably miss like a week of Van Halen at the end and a week at the beginning. So it'd be the end of a tour and I'd be leaving and Loeffler would come up. He goes, Patrick, you tell that Lars Ulrich he's a piece of shit. I'm like, all right, Ed. So I go there, I get the rehearsals or whatever, first show. Metallica said, hey, Ed Loeffler just wants to let you know that you're a piece of shit, And literally, I'd come back months later, and the first thing he would say to me was, Patrick, did you tell him? And I was like, yeah, I told him.
I love the eye part, Patrick. The eye thing.
Off-day sporting goods. You guys apparently were a big bunch of golfers on this tour.
Yeah, we were.
Most of us, yeah.
Frank learned on the tour. Frank Stetler.
Frank came out with us one day outside of Pittsburgh, I think it was.
Yeah, exactly.
And was miserable the entire round. And on the last hole, he drained one from about 100 plus out and went straight and got all the gear, clubs, everything.
Boots,
And
bag.
then it shoes, gloves. And, and then he advanced all the golf on all the days off, traded tickets and passes. We were playing free golf around the country the whole year.
And we had many connections with like TaylorMade and Callaway, everything, Top Flight, balls.
A lot of golf, professional golfers too. I mean, we
Yeah.
had a lot of visitors.
John Daly.
Yeah, John Daly or John
Tiger.
Cook. John
Yep,
Cook,
Tiger
Sure.
came out.
Mark
No.
Amira. Mark
Yeah.
Amira. Yeah, no, it was fun. And I remember actually taking 2 or 3 buses to a golf course, and we had 5-6 rounds. I mean, we had, or foursomes, I should say, 5 foursomes playing on days off. It was fun. It was great.
So I remember the first time, Scottie, I think you hooked us up somewhere in Florida, super plush, super fancy, private. And I'd never really played golf before. So we're at the driving range, and I said to you, Jim, I said, show me 3 things to do and 3 things not to do. And we had the golf pro watching us. So we tee off, and we had 2 foursomes, and I was the last one to tee off. And it was beautiful, immaculate course. And everyone, did your thing. Of course, you crushed it, Jim. So it's the first time I literally teed up, and I hit this ball so perfectly, so straight, so far, like the golf pros, like, oh, these guys know what they're doing. Then I just hacked my way around the rest of the course. I'll never forget that.
So 91 was not quite the technological leaps forward that we've got now. We didn't have Netflix. We didn't have the internet. I believe that was the year it was first released commercially, uninhibited for the rest of us. And there was one big movie that you guys all seem to have enjoyed watching on the bus over and over and over and over again, from what I understand. Anybody know what it is?
Caddyshack.
Caddyshack.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but if we kill all the golfers, they're going to put it here.
Which one's the Carl Spackler of the bunch?
Moon.
It's like the movie.
Just like the movie.
So I want to see about the knowledge in this group about Caddyshack. So we're going to get into the Caddyshack trivia game. You guys ready for this?
All right.
What was the full name of Chevy Chase's character in the film? A, Ty Webb, B, Al Chervick, C, Carl Spackler, or D, Danny Noonan? And in 3, 2, 1, answers up, guys. Answer is A, Ty Webb. Question 2.
What do you say, Al?
What is the name of Al's Jewish friend he brings to Bushwood? A, Mr. Rosenblatt, B, Dr. Dow, C, Mr. Wang, or D, Mr. Simon? 1, 2, 3. Answers up, please.
It's a parking lot.
Hey, Wang.
What's with the pictures?
Yeah, there's some lines in that movie that can't even be caused. All right, question 3.
Set my man up with the whole shit.
What brand of candy bar causes all the commotion in the swimming pool? A, a Milky Way, B, a Baby Ruth, a C, a $100,000 bar,
Yes.
or a D, a whatchamacallit? 1, 2, 3, answers up.
No big deal.
That's right. Well, he bites into it.
What was the name of the character Rodney Dangerfield played? A, Carl Spackler, B, Al Chervick, C, Lou Loomis, or D, Danny Noonan? 3, 2, 1, answers up, gentlemen.
Oh, shit, I hit the wrong letter. What do you say, Al?
Excellent.
Press on.
All right, next question. Who says he called me a baboon? He thinks I'm his wife. A. Judge Smales. B. Ty Webb. C. Lou Loomis. Or D. Al Chervik. 3, 2,
That's
1.
not fair.
Answers up.
He called me a baboon, thinks I'm his wife.
Next question. What kind of beer does the tap in Al's golf bag dispense? A. Schaefer. B. Budweiser. C. Coors. Or D. Miller High Life. Answers up. 3, 2, 1.
Budwinkle.
While our judges are compiling scores, that was really pretty good. I don't remember a few of those quotes either.
Frank, I just want to let you know that since I was with the band and not with the crew a lot of times, the band went to the opening of that movie in Los Angeles. You know, they were invited to the premiere, I should say. And that and also what was the one that we did with the tornadoes?
Twister.
Twister, yeah.
Yeah.
Twister. Yeah.
Twister. Went to that one as well. But it was fun to go to the one for Caddyshack.
No, I don't think I ever seen it in a movie theater. I only saw it in a bus or on TV.
What's a movie theater?
Yeah, right.
All right. Our judges have come back. There's a three-way tie. It's Jim, Jerry, and David. 5 correct answers.
Nice.
I don't think there's anything funnier in America than that movie, especially on a bus. You'd really have a hard time. There's no movie that has that many one-liners in it.
Oh, that one is
Spinal Tap.
Spinal Tap.
Yeah, well-
I think. Look,
Yeah, well,
that was
we just live Spinal Tap, right?
I
They
did.
did what?
We just live Spinal Tap. I don't know how people in the business don't find that film funny. I mean,
They do.
I
It's
don't get it.
hilarious.
It
Oh,
is, but we live it. We know it.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
It's just so
I
real.
work-
It's
I
like,
worked for Dio, so I did Spinal Tap.
yeah.
So there was pretty good times there. How did you get started in Van Halen? Like how did it come down that you get called or someone recommends you? And what did that do for you personally, career-wise, to be a part of this event, tour thing? John, let's start with you.
All right. Well, like I said, I was getting ready for my first tour ever with Toto, and we were wrapping up rehearsals at Dirk Schubert's place in the Power Plant rehearsal studios. And it was an intricate setup, so we were carrying our gear with us over to Europe, console groups and backline and everything. So I was in the shop mixing, and this guy walks in, and he's looking for the bathroom, and he says, "Hey, man, you got a bathroom in here?" And I said, "Yep, first door on your right." So Dirk's boss walks out and says, "Is that who I think it is?" And I said, "Yep, that's fucking Eddie Van Halen." Now I'm 25 years old, okay? I've seen every Van Halen tour. I was 13 when I first saw him live. So Ed comes out, and he's pretty into what I'm doing and hadn't really seen that, I guess, in band rehearsals at least. And he says, "You mind if I hang out?" And I'm like, "Sure." And it was funny because he goes, "Oh, sorry, man, how rude. I'm Ed." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know who you are, buddy." So Ed sat down, and I did what anybody would do. I nudged the guitar up in the mix a little bit hotter, and he hung with me for an hour and a half. And I'll tell you, he got my number because he really liked it. And he said, "Have you ever mixed a band like Van Halen?" Now, I've never mixed a headlining tour yet. I haven't done my first show. And I said, "Ed, you give me the shot and I'm going to blow your fucking mind." And a year later, he called me. And the quick story is I had a day off, so I waited for Loeffler's phone call. I'm calling Loeffler. And so Ed Loeffler called me, and we talked for about 5 minutes, and he really wasn't feeling it. He had the final say. I could tell he wasn't feeling it. I didn't have the experience. I was a little young. And he said, well, John, let's talk money. And I said, well, right now I'm out with Pat Benatar, and she's paying me $1,300 a week. And he says, perfect. You got the gig. You're hired. Welcome to Van Halen. That was it, man.
That's
Oh.
great.
Scottie, how did you get started with this organization?
Our tour accounting firm, the business manager, was Michael Carlin, and he brought me from, I was previously doing Poison with Jim Yakubuski, and he brought me in to meet Ed Leffler. I had met all the guys in the band. Sammy, I knew from living here in the Bay Area. I've known him all my life since I was like 17 when I started with Y&T. And what happened is that I went from Y&T to Journey. Short version is Van Halen did their first opening tour of their life, opening for Journey. It was Journey, Ronnie Montrose without a singer, and Van Halen, and they crushed it every night. And I just so happened to be the same age as all the guys in Van Halen, which I wasn't. The only one that was the same age as myself in Journey was Neil Schon. So it was like I didn't have to do an interview with the band. I had an interview with Ed Leffler, which we became best friends. And he was like my mentor, my dad, basically. And that was it. I mean, I spent the next 12 years with him, even though Ed passed away in '93. And there you go. And what it meant to me was that, I mean, it opened doors. There was people calling me left and right to do tour management for them, and for the next 10 years. But I didn't do it because I didn't want to lose my position that I had with Van Halen. And then we shut down shop in 2002, and I went on to do other tours from there. And looks like I'm retiring this year with what's going on. Finally.
Mario, how about your involvement, how that got started and what it did for you?
I got involved with them in 1984. I mean, it was huge at that point. I mean, there was a bus with 13 lighting guys, and these guys, not only would they just sweat, and spit rivets all day, then 6 or 8 of them would have to go up on the truss and run follow spots. And thank God for seatbelts, because all of a sudden, you just saw a light just drop out of the way, because they fell asleep. And ever since then, and kind of involved in there, the company I worked for, Audio Analyst, was their main audio company for several years. We had also done stuff with Sammy, the I Can't Drive 55 tour, and a few other things in between there. And I guess the rest is history.
Frank, I wanted to bring up one thing. There's the guy in the corner, Dave Davidian. He's the reason I got hooked up with Poison and with Van Halen. He was like the backing force for me. So,
well, then let's hear David's thoughts on this, how you got that call to go into this and what it did for you.
I came with Sam and Ed Leffler. In other words, when Dave split from the band, they lost Dave, the manager, Noel Monk, I think it was, something like that. Neil, I don't know, Monk, I think his last name was Went.
Yeah, Noel
Monk, right. Noel Monk and Pete Angelus stayed with Dave. So when, they decided to pick Sam, they brought along with Sam, they brought Ed, the manager, and Sam. And I had been with Sam since about 1980, 81. So we came as a package, really. And, it was a great experience. They were working with Sam, working with Ed, and working with Van Halen was a great experience for me. Good times, good things, fond memories.
Patrick, how about your involvement, how that got started and what it's done for you?
Yeah, I just came off another tour. I think I think it was Bowie, and I came in with Frankie Stetler, and they're like, I'd never really been a carpenter before, but I've done lots of other stuff. My background's rigging and a lot of the big outdoor stages, and I think I was pretty young at the time as well. And they said, how do you feel about being a head carpenter? I said, yeah, I'll do it. I'll do anything. I'll do it. I'm there. Where do I need to be? And I think we rehearsed in Van Nuys. Did we rehearse in Van Nuys in the hangar for this tour? Or was that the next tour?
That was the
yes,
next
it
one.
was Van Nuys. It was Van Nuys, and
because we were restricted with the height. It was kind of low.
That's right. Well, it always was. We always had to set on the floor. We basically always did it on the floor. Built the stage in the front of the room, because if you rolled the stage underneath, there was never enough height to rig it. And I remember it was you and Chris Roberts. I mean, imagine that as a team now these days, right?
Self and Chris,
yeah, you and Chris Roberts were the two carpenters, right?
And Jack.
Dave, was that the one where was that the rig that had the square box for?
Correct. It was the inverse chandelier, and of course everything was square because of Morpheus.
Alex thought it was for looking at the people that were on the front of house, and he goes, "What's that for?"
Yeah, it was an inverse chandelier, and that's kind of what I came up with that idea. So because it had function as a pyramid dropping down from the outside, it also had a function dropping center down as an inverted pyramid. So I thought it was an interesting structure. And then we used to drop the arms down individually as well, separate to the whole pyramid shape. So it had a lot of ability. I used to try and always have systems that had a lot of flexibility in their structural look, so that, in an effort with the same lights and the same system to create a different look for each song, I tried as hard as I could to try and have some flexibility in the structure to give different angles and a different setup for different songs,
It looked massive. It looked huge, that rig did. I mean, it was huge, but it looked even bigger.
Yeah, no, I don't never have pictures of any of that stuff. I never wanted to be an old guy flipping through like picture books, and now I am.
Here we are.
Now exactly I am. So I kind of regret it, but
I love that rig. The way the truss moves went, it was massive, and people respond emotionally to inanimate objects moving, so it just added to the intensity of the performance. Although I gotta tell this one little story very quickly. Remember, we had all those truss spot operators up on the back, on the rear truss, right? And we gave them jumpsuits and goggles and particle masks because of the pyro sign that would come in, and it would light up, right? Well, one night the truss move and the pyro wasn't really synced right, and it went off a bit too soon, and I think like 3 follow spot operators, their trousers caught on fire. It was hilarious. I mean, for us on the ground, but not for them in the air.
That was, nobody's talked about poor John Watkins, who I don't know what's going on with him yet. But that sign was a piece of art, but it was an amazing thing to watch him make that every day. Lay that thing up and make it. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was really, it was all his kind of mad scientist, concept. But there were literally, must have been 1,500 sparklers on that thing that were about 2 feet long. And every one of them had a connecting thread of, a fuse, if you will. And when that thing went, I had to be more than even 1,500. It took him hours and hours. And it was on this really unstable wooden frame, so when you try and fly it up, it was always wiggling, and it was Mylard on the front side as well. But when that thing lit, Oh my God, it was a supernova. I'm telling you, it was never seen
John
anything like
Watkins.
it.
John
And-
Watkins is alive and well.
Yeah, he's a psychologist or something now. Something like that. He
I don't
does
know. We used to
something
call him
fun.
Pigpen because he'd come
Yeah.
out
Oh.
and he'd start, and he'd have like his shirt all tucked in, a nice white shirt. And by the
Yeah.
time he finished with that rig, it'd be like,
Yeah.
black powder marks all over on his butt and everything.
He worked really hard, but yeah, he was
That's right.
that. Yeah, that's right. He was big then.
So he's still alive and still around.
Yes,
Yes.
very, very alive and very well.
Good.
I
That's
remember-
good to hear.
I mean, he had what do you want to call it? Adversity to taking showers, and one time we just
It's one of those people you didn't want on the bus.
and sealed his bunk,
Yeah. Yep.
So, Jim, I want to pose the same question to you: how you got involved and what it did for you. How you moved on or continued after this. What has it done?
Well, like I said, Scotty brought me in from Poison. I remember as we were wrapping up Poison, he said, I can't tell you yet, but give me a couple weeks and I want to bring you along to my next thing. And so a couple weeks later, he calls me, says, I want you to do monitors for Van Halen. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever, So, and then I get to work with John, who's front of house, who's, we were both young guys. This was a huge break for both of us. And we, I don't think we ever stopped grinning for that whole year. I mean, it was just, it was just such a great thing to be a part of. And then the next tour, in regard to moving on, John moved on to do another project. And I petitioned Mr. EVH and asked him if he would mind if I just moved out front and we would figure monitors out later. So I ended up mixing 93, 95, and 98.
That was in Sweden where you came over.
That's right. Stockholm, Sweden, the Globen.
Yep, the glow. And it was funny because we found out that there wasn't very many tickets sold to the show. We found out it was Easter and everybody leaves. And talk about Ed Leffler, boy, he went berserk when he found out that they booked the show during Easter. And but anyways, it was where Jim got his shot. And every night, I'm not sure if you guys all remember, every night they used to give me a show tape. And
Yeah, I used to hand it to you. I used to have to hand it. I used to get it, I guess, from the board somewhere. And
Yeah,
I used to
from
hand it
house.
to you as you went in the limos every night.
And I used to give it to Alex. Alex would listen to it, would bring his brother in if there was something they needed to discuss. But Alex listened to it every night.
Mm.
And I did that for, the rest of my career with them. And I always thought that was really cool. I mean, a lot of times it would be like, so how did it sound? And I was one of those guys, and I still am. I'm very honest. And I said, yeah, it was all right. It was all right. I mean, like I always said, their worst night is better than most with their best night. It was like those guys were such performers and such entertainers. It was like, man, it's like every night you got goosebumps. My first, being in rehearsal was like I was listening to Ed just going, holy shit, look at where I'm at.
They were on fire that year. That tour, they crushed it every night. Yeah.
Hey, Jim, I want to say that the Globe isn't an easy venue to start in either.
All right. But hang on a sec. So that was the first night you mixed, right?
Yeah.
So Mario, you remember this? We're getting ready to do line check. And was that the night you weren't feeling well?
No, that was like show 3, but I had a
okay.
massive migraine and
Yeah. So it was,
you guys.
because I hung out for a few more before I split.
Yeah, and I tagged you. I tagged out and I ran from the console out to the lobby of the arena and found a trash can to throw up in and ran back in, and I'm like, okay, I'm back, John. And you did not look like you wanted to leave.
I didn't want to let go of the board. It was my baby. It's like that question you asked earlier. The work day was fun. I mean, we were young. even the guys, the backline guys, every gig was just more excitement. You know, maybe it was a new venue. It was a lot of hockey arenas that I had never been in, all the iconic buildings. And so every day we were just fired up and just into it. And Patrick hung, a speed bag and a punching bag off the upstage left corner of the stage. We would warm up for that during the last song or so of Alice in Chains, just to get fired up for set change in the gig, you know? I mean, it was.
That's right. Alice in Chains was out there. I remember they were just starting.
Yeah.
They were just starting out. Wow.
Yeah.
Remember their last show with us?
Yeah.
Oh,
Before
yes.
Baby Animals came out? I remember Patrick and Chris put a whole bunch of gaffer tape sticky side up
All stage.
across the stage on their last show. They came running out, had it all stuck to their feet. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, we also put talcum powder on all the drum skins,
That's right.
and then we put deep heat on the drum seat. I mean, it's out of order, but and then we had a live sheep in the middle of the and
That's
from
right.
Zeke dressed up as little Bo Peep.
Yeah.
And then I don't know who found them. I can't claim
Oh.
responsibility, but some of the skankiest strippers that look like,
Yeah.
I mean, rough. And they hit the stage as well. And then we started loading out on their last song. We started loading them out during the song, and we just left
right.
Sean. All he had was his hi-hat, and I think Jerry still had a guitar, but
Yes.
we started loading out in the last song. They were so good about it too.
That's awesome. Rob, how about yourself?
Great.
How was your initial involvement in this tour?
Great memories, man. Well, I was on a different band opening for with Sammy in '84, and that's when I met Sam, and that's when I met Dave and Chris Paulin at that point, the band's tour manager, Sam's tour manager, and they took a liking to me, I guess, and asked me if I would be interested. And that took a few months. I still was doing probably another tour or two in between. But then when 5150 halfway through or so, I became Alex's drum tech and stayed with him for several years till probably the Balance tour, mid '90s there, and. But on the last tour I did with Van Halen was 2004, so it was a great run here for me. And it was obviously, working for Alex, being as innovative. We talked about the production, but we did the same thing with drums. Every year a different look. Some kits were massive. They all went 20 feet up in the air, and they all had pyro cues and whatever else, and it was iconic for that time, and for my future, that obviously opened a lot of doors, and it was a great opportunity.
Jerry, the same question. I wanted to wrap up with you. Your initial involvement was like a phone call. It wasn't an email at the time, not smoke signals or anything, but like the call. Like, how do you take it, and where did you go?
I was working with a company, Morpheus Lights, and back in the infancy of moving light technology, now everybody's got one, but there was basically two companies. There was Very Lights and there was Morpheus Lights, and then High End came around. And look, we had a lot of gigs, and both of these companies grew exponentially through the 80s up to 91. And so we were almost assigned jobs. So I was fortunate enough. I had enough experience. I was one of the original programmers with the Pan Command system. And so I was working as lighting director with Cher. I had finished that tour. And then I was fortunate enough to get, like I say, told that I was had the opportunity to go out with Van Halen. And I met David, and he's a brilliant designer. And I sort of, I liked his concepts and where it was going. And so it was, and from there, my career has been all over the shop because originally, before Morpheus Lights, I was doing Shakespeare and opera and working at a university as a technical director. And then after I think one of the greatest things for my career with the F.U.C. tour is that I actually survived. I have all my fingers, and it was a great experience. Met some great people. Went on from that, did another Van Halen tour, the Balance tour with Jim and Rob were out there, and Scottie. And but from there, I sort of, after the Balance tour, my priorities shifted because out for a year, and I came home, and my 3-year-old didn't know who I was. And I said, well, I'm just going to stay here in Perth and get a house gig. So that's what I've been doing. Run a lighting company, a video company. So
There is
you're in
some,
Perth, stop by.
yeah. I haven't been there since 2013, and I loved it, and I wish it could come back.
Yeah.
So there's a commonality that I've heard from everybody today, is that there was no bad days on that tour, at least in memory and hindsight now. You all got along very well. It doesn't seem like their lighting, that sound, that's this guy, that's the other guy. You guys all seem to have the idea that this was a team sport. Do you think a tour that size at that time could have possibly run successfully without that attitude amongst the crew?
Of course not. No way. No, it always was that way. Always has. You like to think it still is, but it's a lot more divisive these days. But it's always a team sport. You can't do something and let somebody else be struggling beside you. How can you do that?
You have to
Yeah,
watch
it
your
has to
brother's
be.
back. I mean, you have to cover for one another. It's and even when times got tough and somebody got a little bit too fatigued, you pick up the slack, and they would do the same for you. It was reciprocal. You know, it was it's brothers in arms, if you will. It's basically how it was. It was rapid deployment systems on a day-to-day basis on a massive scale. And somehow everyone kept a good attitude. Of course, there was times of blood, sweat, and tears, but predominantly it worked as a collaboration, and that's due to the people that were out there.
Yeah, I mean, it had to, because you got to remember, you know, once the points are up, we got all the trucks are going in there at the same time. It's about a 4-hour period, 3-hour period. They're all different departments in a relatively small area. So you've got to watch your back, not only within your own department, but other people's backs as well, right? And, you know, it just takes one arsehole and it just ruins the day. And, you know, a big part of my job was trying to keep that balance as well when I was a stage manager. And it's just keeping that flow, keeping that motion. And the key was sense of humor. We were beat, you know, we come like, you know, third day of sleeping on a bus. We were sleeping about 4 or 5 hours a night for those of us that were off the bus at 7 in. So you were beat. So you had to keep that sense of humor up, and you just had to you know, push each other a bit, joke, and it was a team, you know. But it was amazing, yeah. And that also, you had to suck it up. So if you're having a bad day, you've got to be aware that you can't drag everyone else down with that. You just have to put it in your back pocket and get on with it. And if you didn't, you can guarantee that everyone else would probably come down on you like a pack of wolves and just make fun of you and just rip it out. But, you know, it's all about humor and just working hard and being considerate, you know, of your fellow teammates. Respect, totally. But you got to remember, right?
Humor.
Get into this business. It's not necessarily how talented you are. It's generally personalities. And I've always said you're probably about 30-40% how good you are at your job, and the rest is how you are as a person and personality. And a lot of times you get taken on tours because it's like, yeah, I can live on a bus with this guy. You know, I can, you know, we're face to face, like day in, day out, you know, smelling each other's farts, literally. And it's, you know, that's what it is, you know. Some people more than others.
Yeah. You know, it was a 3-man audio crew and me and Jim. So when the show was
It's
over,
a 5-man crew, buddy. You're in there.
well, what I'm saying is when the house lights came up, out front, I wasn't going to sit. There was no time. It was, you've got 6 stagehands coming up in 7 or 8 minutes. You better have your front of house shit packed up and get it over and get it to the dasher, or Mario's going to come down on my ass. So it's, and then it was, let's get the snake pulled, because then the stage is going to roll. And then we're moving, we're humping S4s to the truck. I mean, I didn't need to go to the gym. It was like load in, load out was a workout. But that was, so there was no ego involved. It wasn't, no matter what your gig was, we were all even.
No white gloves at that point.
No.
There was no white gloves.
You couldn't be. Can I tell a stupid story? You
There's no
indulge
such
me
thing here.
for a moment. Look, I remember one time, and this is where like humor helps the crew and stuff like that. I believe we were in Birmingham, Alabama, and my job, I had like over 900 feet of truss that had to be unstacked and moved out of the way so the staging could go in. And so I was always struggling with this massive amount of truss. So one time down in Birmingham, Alabama, I got a couple of guys that are helping me out. They got a forklift. We're unstacking truss. And this old boy says to me, he says, this stagehand stuff ain't my real job. And I said, oh, really? So what do you do for a living? He says, well, I work for an aeronautical engineering firm. I said, really? That's pretty interesting. I said, what do you do for them? He says, well, we test the resiliency and strength of aircraft windshields. I said, well, that's pretty cool. How do you do that? And he says, well, we take a 150 millimeter cannon and then we fire a chicken at the thing with about 600 knots. I said, get the fuck out of here. You operate a chicken cannon. He says, yes, sir, I do. He says, I got pictures on my wall. And so I turned around and said, hey, guys, come over here. This guy operates a fucking chicken cannon. and I don't know. It stuck with me all these years. I got not only did I work with one of the best rock bands ever in the history of rock and roll, but I got to meet the guy that operates the chicken cannon. So just a side story. Sorry about that, guys.
It's a charmed life, Jerry.
Yes.
I want to ask a question. Road stories. You guys have had, obviously by reputation, Van Halen was not a bunch of shy guys. There was nothing about this that was small. Is there a story you can relate about the venues you were in and some of the fun stuff that you remember happening in some maybe iconic venues that just aren't here anymore?
I got one. You guys remember the day Garth Brooks and John McBride showed up?
Knoxville.
Knoxville. Okay.
Knoxville.
And
yeah, we had to give them a guided tour of the whole thing.
Garth,
2 shows. They came to
2 shows. Yeah.
2 shows.
So the first one, I remember it was about 2 p.m. So we were still an hour and a half away from the band showing up, and they wanted to see Dave's light show. They had heard and all the moving truss, and you guys did a great demo of all that for him. And then he wanted to walk around on the stage and see how it felt up there on the stage. And Zeke Clark comes walking out holding an acoustic guitar and says, Garth, you want to play around a little bit and play a little song for us? And he goes, oh yeah, sure, man. So he grabs his guitar and he starts playing Hollywood Nights by Bob Seger to an empty arena and just the crew. And I'm over in Monitor World, just, hair standing up in my arms. And I got to talk to John a little bit, John McBride, his sound guy and very famous audio guy, Martina's husband. But I remember last part of the story, during the show that night, someone taps me on the shoulder in Monitor World, and I turn around, and it's Garth. And he took the time to come by and thank me for letting him have a fun on stage and play a song in the afternoon. And I was like, sir, it's an honor. It was awesome.
Well, I remember it was funny, the same time period when they came, they were coming to see us and they wanted to check it all out. They said, we're going to bring this to country. And I went, okay. And then at that time we had, the drum riser that went up and all that stuff. But it was like, okay. And sure as hell they did, and it changed it changed country forever. I mean, between them and then Reba started, and you know, everybody started. You know, they were like, you know, box van tours until then, and then all of a sudden, you know, 17, 22 trucks later, they're doing the same thing in rock and roll. But he was the start.
So we've got a mystery caller here coming in. I think everybody remembers Frank DeFalco.
Lady.
Yeah.
You
Hey,
haven't?
so yeah, I got something to say, Yakabuk. That wasn't Monitor World. That was Bass World. You were just a guest in my area.
I think it sometimes doubled as a dance club as well.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes, he
Deny
was.
What's
everything.
going on, guys?
What's up, Daddy?
What's
How you doing,
happening?
Greg?
Hey.
I'm good. I'm all hunkered down here in Katy, Texas.
Nice.
Hey, Texas.
Katy, Texas. Land of the Trump lover, okay?
That's right.
Man, I miss every one of you guys.
You don't miss me.
Ditto, buddy.
I actually do. They're Sgambellone.
If you guys don't know, Craig and I toured together a couple of years ago on Alice in Chains, funny enough.
Wow.
Yeah. That was
It was-
awesome.
It was great seeing you coming into this chat, because you really do have a way with words, man. And why don't you kick this one off? Why don't you give us a road story from that tour that you can get away with without the authorities showing up in Katy, Texas?
Wait, what tour are you talking about here? That's a long time ago.
The F.U.C. tour.
Oh yeah. Let me think here. So is Mario on this?
Oh, he
Yes.
is.
All right. Hey, Lechesky.
What's up?
So I got a great story. I think it's good. One day, I don't know where we were, but we knew the show was canceled. So I didn't want to screw around. I just wanted to tear down and get out of there. And Frank Stetler, God love him, comes running up to me and says, set it back up. We got to have the band come in and check before we cancel the show. And I said, shit. So he goes, Michael's coming in like 5 minutes. And I went, shit. So I ran up. I had power amps on stage behind cabinets and effects racks in my pit, or Yakubowski's pit. Sorry.
Exactly.
And and so I'm running. I'm kind of pressured to get this bass rig. It was a monster rig, up and running. So I fired up, patch it all in. I fired up, and and 2 stacks aren't playing, right? So I'm like, SVT stacks. I'm like, oh shit. So I'm trying to figure it out. And Mario comes up to me and goes, what's wrong? I said, I can't get this thing to work. So he goes, let me look. So he's there for like 20 minutes trying to figure it out as I'm trying to figure it out. And then Lechesky says to me, Datehead, I see what you did and I'm not impressed. and I'm like, what? So what I did was I had like 8 speaker cables, right? And they're all wrapped up, knotted up together. And somehow I put one speaker out of the speaker jack into another speaker jack, out of the power ramp into another power ramp, so nothing was working. And Mario figured it out, and we laughed. Huh, Mario? You remember that?
Yeah, good old days, pal. You know? that's why we are who we are these days, you know, and
Yeah.
and nobody, you know, you could come home and off the tour and tell these stories to people, your friends that don't, and they just don't get it. you know,
I know.
you know what I mean?
Or they
Well,
want
they
to
don't-
hear stories and you don't want to tell them because you're sick and you want to rest and relax. And
Well, they don't
But,
believe you for one.
yeah, right.
They don't believe you.
Yeah.
What else do I got? Oh, yak. Here's a good one for you, Jim.
Okay.
One night we were somewhere, we couldn't use pyro. And the pyro ports were right above Yakubuski's board on a riser. And we were in a pit. And every night I would run Michael Anthony's bass solo. I would trigger all his effects, right? I had a little remote Bradshaw switcher. And so every night on the solo, I would go up on stage and give Mike his Jack Daniels bass and hand him a bottle of Jack Daniels. He would hit it in front of the audience. They would roar. And then he'd hand it to me, and as I was walking away, he'd always grab me and make me drink it in front of everybody. Well, I hate Jack Daniels. And so I would try to fake it, and the crowd would boo me. I swear to God. So I'd have to actually hit it. And every time I did, I'd run in my pit and puke, But so every
Whose
night I
pit?
would leave Jack's pit. So every night I would leave the bottle on top of the riser before I'd run down the steps and get ready to trigger his solo. So Mike would do his solo, and he'd run up on Ed's side up the ramp and go around Alex on the riser, and he would jump from the back riser to the front riser. And when he did it, so I don't know, I'm watching him because I have to trigger all his explosions and shit. And he did it, and this night the bottle of Jack bounced up and spilled and started pouring into this empty pyro port. Well, it was right above Yak's board. And it started pouring into the fucking monitor board from
I
above him.
remember that.
Remember that?
Oh yeah.
Right after,
It
it was right.
The
It
drum.
was right before Alex's solo. So all the jack went into Alex's fucking channels.
Oh,
And
great.
it's crackling and breaking up, and Al's throwing sticks at Yak and screaming and yelling. Mario's over there pulling out the modules with Michael Anthony's hair dryer, trying to.
We had everyone in there. We had towels going in, whatever we could do. Everyone's like freaking out. But what did we do in the end? Because we didn't. I mean,
It
we pulled
just-
it off,
somehow.
we made it to the end of
It
the show.
just crackled until it ended, and I
Yeah.
remember Mike walks in to have a cocktail, because I always had a blender and a full bar in there. And I'm standing there just holding my head like, oh shit. And he's like, what's going on? I go, look. So here's the best part of the story though. So the next day we're doing line check before the band comes up, and Mario walks up behind me while I'm on Michael Anthony's mic, checking his mic and his monitors and his bass. Mario pushes me out of the way and gets on the mic and says, "Can we get a little more Jack in the monitor mix, please?" One of my favorite memories, man.
You can't make this shit up, man.
Well, you can, but they'll catch you.
Right.
All right. So who's all here? I can't see you guys.
Craig, we got John Ostrom, Jim Yak, Rob Kearns, Jerry Reinhardt, Scottie Ross, Patrick Ledwith, Mario Lachesi, and David Davidian. And of course, now yourself.
Yeah, but he doesn't know us by those names. He knows us by Van Halen nicknames.
Yeah. See, this is where I was going. The stories lend themselves to nicknames to not, protect the innocent.
Oh my God. You know what, guys? I missed every one of you, and I've been blessed to be able to tour with most of you over the years. And It's been a ride, huh?
You betcha,
Yep.
buddy.
Yes, it sure has.
So where are the tour nicknames?
Yeah,
How
let's hear.
How about the story? Remember Jim, once you moved out the front of the house and we had Bob mixing monitors? And that
Yeah.
one night, fucking Al is throwing rolls of gaffer tape and drumsticks. And Bob walks out from behind the console and fucking goes up to his riser and flips him off. And I said, sorry, buddy, but I guess you're going to have to go home tomorrow. You know,
Man.
he had just fucking gotten enough, man. He had gotten enough, you know.
Bobby Huck.
Yep.
Oh, God rest. I love fucking Bobby, man.
No, this was little Bobby.
No, I know, but Bobby Huck about. Have you guys talked to Bobby?
I've talked to him about 2-3 weeks ago. He's
Oh, awesome.
chilling in Florida, you know, and that's
Yeah.
He used to.
enjoying his kids and grandkids and whatever, you know.
He's a sweet, sweet man that always took care of the crew. He would go in and like grab up cakes and stuff left over in catering and booze and be on the bus. And you get onto the bus after, you know, finish, because the lighting guys are always last, you know. And you come on the bus and there's Bobby's like, would you like some cake? You know, he's just a sweet man.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want to be the guy that had to wake him up in the morning.
He used to.
He was with us. He was with us with Poison as well when we had in the Rat Poison tour, where we had a row in a bar, and thank God he was on my side.
No kidding.
He was ex Special Forces.
You remember he would fucking down like 4 or 5 rum and cokes in like 2 minutes, you know. That was his favorite poison.
A
you know?
sprinter.
It's hard.
Yeah, I used to remember he'd have cornflakes with ketchup on it on the bus.
And he smoked a cigarette when he took a shower.
Hey, I got one real quick.
Come on,
Patrick, talking about waking up a fucking roadie. One day I was up rocking all night, right? And you know, I don't go in till noon anyways. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, half day.
But it was about 2 in the afternoon, and I'm in my bunk just snoring, and Patrick sends on 6 crusty old roadies or old fucking stagehands to wake me up. Remember that, Patrick?
Vaguely, yeah.
They flung my curtain open. They're like, "Are you gonna get up and work with us today?" And I'm like, "Who the fuck are these?"
I probably told him, go in there, and if he doesn't wake up, just fucking carry him out and bring him in and dump him on the floor.
Yeah.
Hey,
I used to get shit from all the lighting guys, you know. Hey, 2 o'clock, Datehead's here. I said, fuck you guys. You got to cut your own deals. I didn't say I want to be a lighting guy when I grew up.
Executech, baby.
I'm going to nickname him Rumpelstiltskin. That's pretty much where I'm going with Craig. Who else got what was the worst nickname on the tour? Who got it? Like
I'm taking it. I own the worst nickname.
JFP.
JFP that Patrick gave me.
I did?
He did?
Yeah, because
Johnny Fartpan.
After
Johnny Fartpan.
Yeah. See, during I don't know, it was line check, or maybe we were checking microphone positions and tightening stuff down. Me, Yak, and Zeke would strategically position ourselves around the stage, and we could clear it out pretty easily.
Yeah, but John, John, you would be on the bus and talking, and then you'd pause and look us in the eye and just blow heat and make this face like, "Oh, excuse me."
But only guys from this tour can call me that. I've had guys I've met who call me that, and I just tell them to go fuck themselves. No way. They didn't earn the right at all.
Well,
Yeah,
I think
you have to
Rob
smell it.
Rob Kern's got you beat, buddy, with his nickname.
Come on,
What?
come on now. She got them.
Which one are you talking about?
Sheet goddamn.
That's it.
What was it?
Got them.
Rob.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a little incident there one morning. Let me keep this clean, as clean as we can. But it was the back lounge was busy, and it was locked up. And on the way out, I think it was actually Austin, Texas, Irving Center, and we were parked on the sidewalk there and driving off the, probably had a short drive, so the drivers came in relatively late or early in the morning. And on the way off that curb, I fell out of the bunk, had a top bunk, and exposed a few curtains there on the way down. And while I was flying out, I was like, oh shit, goddamn, and I hit the ground.
Oh shit, goddamn.
I think I tore off the back handle too on the back lounge, and some people got locked in there. And it was, it was.
That wasn't the night the bunks collapsed, though, right?
No, that was different. That was with Moon, yeah.
God, remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I do. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Actually, that's.
I was on the bottom of that sandwich.
Yes.
I was in the middle. Not sure why we had Moon on top.
Yeah, the heaviest guy was on top. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So the top bunk collapsed on Sheet on the middle bunk, and that collapsed onto Yak. And I heard it. I was in the back lounge, and I I couldn't even open the door, so I had to break it open. And Moon's just still laying in his bunk, looking at me like, yo, man, what the fuck? Yo, man. So I pull him out and then lift his bunk up, and Rob runs out, and he's like, Jim, Yak, you okay, Yak? He's all worried about Jim. I think Bunky the Clown was still sleeping there, Jim.
You know what? I was very sick. I had a really bad head cold, and you guys were both laying on top of me, and I was like,
"Not me. I wasn't laying on top."
No,
of
not you. Not Moon and Sheet, and and they were both, and I was just pushing the thing back up, like, okay, I just want to get back to sleep.
Bless his soul.
Yeah, yep. God rest his soul, man. Yeah. Meaning Moon. Yeah.
Moon.
Yeah. Well, come on, Scottie Ross, you got some stories.
None that I can really say.
You're who's still alive. You don't have to worry about working anymore. You're retired. No,
that's true, but that's all for the book,
Yeah.
But I just wanted to say, who's not on here, who really should have been, is Bob Dates.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, but he would probably, outdo all of us with stories and stuff. He actually does one at the Tour Link thing that's called "You Can't Make This Shit Up," and he does it. I mean, and some of them he'll get the person wrong and stuff like that, but it's just Bob.
Yeah.
Well, I got to tell you, Scotty, I got nothing but respect for you and tour managers. You got to be around those guys babysitting the rock stars for 12 hours a day. We only see them for 3 hours a day.
Yeah, what's really odd about that is my wife even said it. She goes, it's kind of weird. It's like, I talk to Rob probably once a week, and we speak, and I just talked to Patrick just on a fluke. Not knowing we were doing this, like a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. And I went, shit, man, I haven't talked to Pat in forever. And I haven't talked to Jerry or Dave. And I know I keep on top of it. Now, Mario, I see every once in a while, but I keep on top of you guys' Facebook and see what you're doing and stuff. Don't want to bother you. But, man, you guys were like the best to work with because, like you said, you know, even though Van Halen was probably the easiest at times band I've ever worked for, you know, it's like, you know, you get stories like Sammy on his video and stuff, you know, and Red said that I threw up on his future wife's feet, which was, I mean, they met the night before on my birthday, you know, and like we said, we worked hard and we partied even harder. And and it was, I mean, Ed Leffler, you know, God rest his soul, he found out that I worked for Poison. He loved strip clubs. So we would, you know, we would work all day, go to a show, you know, do a show all night. I'd get up in the morning and do interviews and such, but it was like, you know, Ed would go like, okay, you ready? And I'm going, ready. And he goes, yeah, we're going out. And we'd go out to like 3, 4 in the morning. So I was sleeping an average of 3.5, 4 hours a night.
Yeah.
And everybody knew it, like Datehead, especially the backline guys, knew exactly what I had done the night before. And it was a little rough at times, you know. But it was I mean, I could think back and there was never a better crew that, you know, it made up for everything. You know, it's like it made up for everything because no matter how bad it was, the crew made up for it. It was always a joke that was cracked or to keep your spirits up. And it was good. I mean, there was times that it was like I was ready to go home, you know.
Man, you ain't lying.
It was just, you know, everybody was such a tight-knit group.
Yeah.
And I've always made sure that I said hi to everybody from front of house every day, go through the thing. I mean, I still do it. You can ask Rob.
Yeah.
I still
Hey, let me show you guys how he did it. He would walk in hungover, and he would go, he'd look up at me and go, "Hi, Daddy." Come on, Scotty.
Yeah. That was when I looked like you and John, always having a you know, cigarette hanging out of my mouth. And thank God I didn't get to the point where I need oxygen only in high, you know, anything above 8,000 feet. But it's, you know, it's like it was a good life. I mean, living, you know, with the Van Halen brothers. I mean, Al and I were so close. It's not the same anymore. I haven't spoken to the guys since 2002. But bless their hearts. I hope they're doing well.
Yeah.
Mike and Sam, I talk to still. Matter of fact, just on Father's Day, I said hello. And I mean, God, those were fun days, you guys. Those were some of my fondest memories.
You know, it's something I got to say is it's the whole crew on that. There was not one pant load. You know what I mean? Everybody was just amazing. Seriously, they knew their shit. They respected one another. But people watching this that don't tour, that look up to these rock stars, Van Halen, every band member was like the most humble human beings, you know.
Yep.
And Michael Anthony every day made sure he said hi to every crew guy. You know, he'd walk in and say hello. Hey, Steve. Hey, Bob. He'd ask me, what's that Latin guy's name? I go, I don't know. Find out.
And that's why you
So
have
he'd
to ask
say hi
me.
to him the next day, you know. But yeah, those guys are amazing.
Yeah.
Fun.
He was definitely a fucking sweetheart, and still holds a special place in my heart.
For everybody who ever meets him, man, fans, you know, everybody loves Mike.
Yep.
So. But right on. So I'm going to shut the fuck up and let you guys talk.
Well, I wanted to ask you specifically a question.
Oh, no, Frank.
Oh, yeah. Come on. It's just a question. How did you get the name Datehead?
I know.
So go ahead, tell your version.
My version is because of your hair. It always looked like a date palm. In the back, stood up like Rod Stewart. It was like
that's exactly it. When I was like 19, I was working for the race car driver Roger Ward, right? and we were coming back from a Phoenix race, driving back, and we were coming through Palm Desert, and he looked at me and saw a road sign that said Date Palm Drive. That's when he named me Datehead. So Roger Ward, he named me Datehead, and it stuck because Michael Anthony doesn't even call me Craig. He calls me Date, or like most of you guys, Datey.
Datey.
So yeah, it's weird, but yeah, it's stuck. I don't hate it, but
Could be worse.
could be worse.
Wow, look at the time. We've been talking for a while here, and it's time to take a safety meeting. Folks, when we return, we're going to keep going strong with the crew of the Van Halen F.U.C. Tour and even more crazy road stories. Thank you for watching Live from Nowhere, raising awareness and funds for the unsung heroes of the entertainment industry who are currently out of work.